Greetings. This is the second of two parts of the description of the inner workings of my ship. Now I will go over these two purple angle sensors. Very simply, they keep the ship balanced on its roll axis. So this one, on its dark side, activates the hover pad at the bottom here, and this one activates the hover block at the bottom here. These two green angle sensors do much the same for the pitch of the ship. So this one will activate the bottom hover pad over here, deactivating it in order to keep the pitch stabilized in the front, and this one will do much the same for the bottom hover block in the back. At the same time, we want the ship to be able to pitch up and down as if simulating the controls of a fighter jet. In order to do this, first of all, we have to deactivate the angle sensor stabilization, because that will provide strong counteracting forces to any movement that we might want to make. So, how do we do that? I have a W key input here and an S key input here. This OR logic gate, it's outputting on a positive scale. It receives input from both of these. The OR logic gate inputs to these two. So the AND logic gates here, they take an input from an OR logic gate, and then they take an input from the angle sensor. So if the angle sensor activates, it will simply do nothing. However, if I am pressing a button, the angle sensor will activate this AND logic gate. The OR logic gate will activate this AND logic gate. And the AND logic gate will give an additional input to the hover block, telling it to turn back on. The other one does exactly the same, just for this angle sensor and the hover block that's all the way in the front. So whenever I am pressing an input, the AND logic gates will counteract the outputs of these two angle sensors, overriding the stability and allowing me to pitch up or down. And there you go. Those are all of the systems that I integrated into this spaceship. Hopefully the explanation didn't bore you that much. Now, what I'm going to do is showcase the complete creation. Complete with all of its weaponry, all of its aesthetic pieces, all of its paint, all of the things that make it what it is. So as for the paint job, most of it is decals. There's a few just simply colored blocks. I might add some orange strips to the wings to make them less plain, although I might toy with that for a few days before I've made a decision. As for its weaponry, let's take it to the skies and see how it performs. In totality, it has 10 smart cannons of the auto-tracking variety. 4 of them are forward-facing. 2 of them on each side are perpendicular to the forward direction in order to fend off anything approaching from the side. And 2 of them are rear-facing, so they will dissuade anybody from attacking your engines. Then there are 3 tiny cannons on the wings. And lastly, as for weaponry, forward-facing rocket launchers, 4 of them at the bottom of the large wing. The weaponry works quite well. It tends to shred anything in its way, like that. And then if something attempts to resist, you just throw rockets at it until it goes away. Very, very simply. The rockets are on a small delay from each other so that they have this cool staggered animation. And being at the bottom of a giant wing, they do have a lot of space to aim, especially downwards at things that are on the ground. It does indeed have a sort of a blind spot at the bottom on this side, since the rear-facing cannons on the top cannot really shoot down here. However, it's very maneuverable, especially considering it's enormous and it should not be this maneuverable. So I do think that it makes up for its blind spot by just turning very quickly, pointing the side-facing turrets at the enemy and ripping them to shreds. That is about it as for its functionality, because I did make it with simple controls in mind. It doesn't have too many features, just a lot of firepower for fighting people and annoying them. One of the things that I like about this spaceship is that because it has forward-facing speed sensors that activate these forward-facing thrusters in order to keep the ship up, you can point it down like this in order to fire your entire arsenal at somebody on the ground, and it will not fall out of the sky immediately. Of course, you will have to straighten out eventually, but you do have a large window of time where you can essentially aim at something on the ground without nose diving immediately, thanks to the 4 forward-facing thrusters. And that is about it, I would say. I am very happy with this creation. Again, as I said, I might add a few decals to the wings or a few more orange spots to make it a bit more colorful. But as for how it works, that's about it. I'm also happy with how it lands. I can get out of it without it doing any strange things. And that's pretty much it. I have added a altitude sensor. It does not have any function other than just tell me the altitude. It literally does not output into anything. But yeah. So that is my showcase of the Corsair, inspired by the spaceship from Star Citizen. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the future.